The Rock, wrestler turned actor, has always been known for his larger-than-life, super jacked physique. But recently, he looks different.
Here he is, just looking water depleted, lean, death face-esque, Grim Reaper, Scyther, and ready to go, buddy. He is devolving from The Rock to the Stone to the People, or Pebble.
The Rock says he's slimming down for a new role, playing a 70-year-old man in an upcoming film. And sure, we've covered extreme actor transformations before on this channel, but this one stands out. It's triggered a massive wave of speculation online. So what's really going on? Is this just about one movie role, or is The Rock strategically reshaping his entire image for his next chapter? Is it a calculated Hollywood pivot? Or does it signal something deeper behind the scenes? A fundamental change in his health and lifestyle.
He lost a lot of weight. Have you seen him now? He's slimmed down. I bet getting that big probably felt like shit.
Well, someone was like, hey, your heart's going to explode, right? And number two,
you're
gotta
50 and your heart's
you're
going to
50,
explode.
your heart's working overtime. And you don't have the forged internals anymore.
It's like 50.
He's himself hinted at a major health scare, one that forced a total rethink, shifting his focus from chasing pure size to optimizing his internal health, specifically his nutrition, gut health, and metabolic function. This pivot mirrors a massive trend in modern medicine, a move away from reactive treatment and toward proactive preventive care.
A huge sense of relief, by the way. And I was never a medication guy. Like, I wasn't taking any kind of medications or anything like that. And even now.
But not everyone is buying it because, to be honest, The Rock has been side-eyed his entire career. Massive bulks and world-class strength, all attributed to just hard work.
Bleed, blood, sweat, tears. That's the approach that I take to life.
Many fans suspect his newfound shift isn't purely voluntary, that his body simply couldn't sustain decades of extreme training, nor the unofficial supplementation that likely came with it.
The Rock probably was just happy with the muscles that he had, the roles that he was playing, the $800 million that he had made from being a blockbuster superstar. But there is a humbling moment when you get an MRI.
So today, we're cutting through the noise with a medical perspective. We'll analyze the real health pressures facing an aging athlete like The Rock, examine the physiological clues behind the steroid rumors to separate fact from fiction, and most importantly, connect his personal pivot to a massive shift in modern preventative medicine, and what key takeaways we can all learn from it. If you're a returning viewer, do me a solid and give the video a like and let me know your thoughts about this topic. If you're new to the channel, welcome, watch the video first, and if so inclined, join our army of intelligent interns learning about healthcare at the end. Now that we've done the heavy lifting, let's get into it.
The most electrifying man in sports and entertainment, The Rock!
So where did this whole controversy start? It kicked off when The Rock showed up at a recent movie premiere, and the internet immediately lit up. Viewers and commenters were stunned, flooding social media with one main reaction: he's so skinny, man. Like I said, The Rock is getting older, and every elite athlete eventually hits a point where they must adapt. It's clear he's also pushing to be taken more seriously as a dramatic actor.
Probably lost, I don't know, 50 pounds is what a lot of people are saying. I don't know if it's that much personally, but it's definitely a lot.
And look who's back to YouTube, none other than Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And what brought him out of the woodworks? Well, the fact that The Rock has downsized and is now a pebble.
Calling him a pebble is extreme. He's still very fit. He claims it's for his new role, which is fair. And we can't forget that just last year, he was at an absolute physical peak portraying an MMA legend, a role demanding a genetically gifted physique that pushed the limits of natural potential.
The craziest shit about it is The Rock is doing it in his 50s, playing a guy, well, by the way, like he is representing the role like a spitting image, of a guy in his 20s who is a phenom on gear.
And it's been a year since filming wrapped, more than enough time for someone to significantly change their body composition, if That was the goal. So we have The Rock, long typecast in massive jacked roles, now a year out from his most extreme performance yet. And as I've covered before, those peak on-screen physiques are almost always temporary and fade after production ends.
Like even guys who compete on stage at, bodybuilding shows, they're not gonna look like they do on stage even weeks after, and they certainly haven't lost it all. It's just a process of peaking for this role to look a certain way, and then even if you're still, juiced out of your gourd, there's gonna be a deflation where you're not, peaked, you're not on camera in the prime condition, you're also just not taking what you need to be to support it maximally, but you could still easily be juicing your face off, just proportionally less or so, and not eating. Like you can imagine this guy just naturally is going to need a break too, even if he's still juicing thereafter.
For actors, this is all part of the process. Months of extreme training, precise calorie manipulation, and sometimes enhancements, all followed by a natural period of deflation once filming stops. So as we break this down, the key question becomes, is The Rock's current appearance truly extreme in an absolute sense, or does it just seem extreme compared to the superhuman silhouette we've gotten used to seeing?
Life is a delicious drink that you have to suck deep.
To answer that, we have to move past the gossip and into the medical science. There's been intense chatter around The Rock's health, with many accusing him of lack of transparency about his routine. This vacuum of information naturally breeds speculation and misinformation, but one rumor in particular exploded and gets to the heart of the long-term risks involved.
And he recently found out that he had plaque buildup in his circumflex artery from his decades of gear use. Now, the reason why this plaque buildup can be so dangerous is because it can lead to heart attacks, strokes, or aneurysms, which is probably why he decided to hop off. Now, steroids in general, especially when taken in high doses, can have an extremely negative effect on your cholesterol, blood thickness, and your blood pressure, which can accelerate plaque buildup.
The Rock himself, usually not one to clap back, actually responded to this post and of course vehemently denied it.
But anyway, The Rock, this is 100% not true. Can you imagine him just sitting there watching this video and just be like, what the fuck, man? This is bullshit. I gotta comment on this one.
So where did this rumor come from? It was spun from a much broader and frankly more important conversation about health optimization on his podcast with functional medicine expert Dr. Mark Hyman.
You want to take agency of your own life. You want to take accountability of your own health. There's so much noise out there in social media and just out there in the world as it relates to health. The noise comes in many forms. You're doing it wrong.
Right.
Do it better. There's gurus, there's experts, there's influencers. Here's what's not noise is data. And the data that, for example, a Function Health can provide, like that's not noise. That is real, it's data, it's factual, and you take that and you can inform yourself, and that will inform how you move forward.
Basically, they talk about a preventative approach to healthcare and staying on top of diagnostics and what you can learn from getting, proactive blood work. And
some have also speculated about a potential promotional angle for the podcast. Perhaps a brand deal or even a personal investment by The Rock in Dr. Hyman's company, Functional Health, which offers the $500 per year membership for the services they were discussing.
But my interpretation of it is they kind of want to show that he gets some value out of this service that they provide, which is like a typical kind of like diagnostic service that you get some takeaways that can then be applied to optimize yourself. And some people find more alarming genetic predispositions or problems they had no idea they had. And the idea is if you get in front of it, you avoid disease before you end up, dealing with it and trying to work backwards.
I mean, that's it. It feels like that's the stripped down takeaway of this is, if my guy DJ can do it, I can do it.
People are wondering if this is a moment of genuine concern for The Rock, or is strategically reframing his entire image to align with the wellness trend. As if this is for his new role, I'm more than my buff exterior. I'm versatile, introspective even. What's on the inside counts. And he's leveraging a powerful, relatable issue, breaking down the stigma that prevents men from seeking preventive medical care to avoid appearing weak.
I think it also has to do with this.
You think it's a vulnerability aspect?
Yeah, guys don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to be weak. They don't want to be seen as, fragile. And I think there's a sort of a macho thing of like, well, I'm just going to tough through it. And I have these symptoms, but like, I'm not going to go to the doctor, which is often what happens. And then by the time you end up having to go, it's often too late.
Yeah. I thought, oh, well, what an opportunity this is with Function Health to give dudes and guys like, hey, permission.
Yeah.
Like, go after it.
And honestly, it doesn't really matter if The Rock's pivot is convenient. The conversation it sparks about the future of healthcare is what counts. Challenging the macho stigma of toughing it out and emphasizing the importance of actively taking charge of your health in a sustainable way and shifting the focus from reactive to proactive care. That's the real win.
I was seeing my doctors and it was, well, it feels like it's this. It's probably this. Let's take some of this. Let's take a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then 4 weeks later, no, nothing's changed.
Healthcare needs to change if it's going to truly be healthcare. And not, as some call it, sick care. But the problem isn't just the system, it's our mindset. Too often, we treat health like an optional chore, something to address only if we have time. We wait until something breaks or causes symptoms, and then patch the visible issue instead of addressing the root cause.
I feel like that's the microcosm of a larger issue here, right? Which is just this idea that it was finally through you understanding the power of, wait, let's hold on. We know what the symptoms are. Let's not treat the symptoms.
Yeah.
Let's go deeper and look under the hood and find out what the root cause is.
We've gotten really good at surface level fixes, short-term solutions that only go so far. Many doctors are still stuck in that cycle of just diagnosing and prescribing.
That when you declare things like this without doing a deeper dive on the blood panel, without doing a stool test,
Yeah.
you realize how antiquated at times that system and that kind of training can be.
And typically, it's only later in life that we start paying attention, taking health for granted when we're young, then scrambling once issues arise.
You reach your 5th level of life and you realize that, oh, you're of age.
Yeah. You're 53 now.
And when you become 53, when you become of age, that's when all the tests start to happen.
The thing is like typically people are not going to be doing preventative things for cardiovascular workups at like, 50 years old. Typically it's going to be preceded by like an event. Like a cardiovascular event is typically going to be what then yields looking at this stuff more meticulously.
As Derek points out, unless there's a strong family history, most of us operate with a kind of naive optimism, assuming bad health won't happen to us, all while making daily choices that slowly chip away at our long-term well-being. And like I said, the system needs fixing, but it can also start at home with you. By making your health a priority, being intentional with your choices, understanding your body's rhythms, and noticing when something feels off. People often think it's more complicated and unattainable than it really is.
Before it was sort of only really for wealthy or elite, and I think that's changing. Now we're able to democratize healthcare. We're providing solutions outside the healthcare system because it's still very ossified and it takes a long time for medicine to change.
Ultimately, healthcare should be integrated, not disjointed, so that it can be as effective, efficient, and accessible as possible. Back to The Rock. How did he find his way to Dr. Hyman's longevity clinic? Well, he initially went for a basic checkup with a more traditional doctor where signs of atherosclerosis, a thickening and hardening of the arteries caused by plaque buildup, was detected.
There was what looked to be some stuff inside the,
Like a buildup of
like
what
a
they thought was
buildup,
plaque.
what they thought
And
was
they-
plaque in the circumflex valve.
In the artery, yeah.
In the artery, right? And I didn't even know what that. I never even heard of that. Well,
The
it sounds
artery
cool.
goes around the back of your
It goes
heart.
in the back. Now
Yeah.
I know that, right? I always hear the main tube.
Yeah.
That's what you hear.
Yeah.
But for those listening, like me, I was unaware that we also have a really important one that goes around the back. The circumflex.
The circumflex artery wraps around the back of the heart and helps supply oxygenated blood to the left side. And while plaque there isn't necessarily catastrophic, it is a marker of cardiovascular risk. But one thing people often overlook when talking about The Rock is how common this symptom actually is.
Having plaque at this age is not unexpected, nor is it uncommon. The cardiovascular thing is like often quite neglected because people don't realize how prevalent it is and how early it starts. The leading cause of death in the US is still heart disease, and within that, the subsect of the cause of that heart disease is most often going to be atherosclerosis, so plaque buildup in the arteries. And this is something that manifests early in life, like as early as, like teenagehood, you start to stack plaque in your arteries, and most people are not exempt from this. Even metabolically fit individuals, a lot of them will still have some level of plaque accumulation, and this will be present at some small quantities likely in your 50s or significant quantities.
But obviously, for those using PEDs, the risk is even higher.
As somebody who is a massive human with more stress to actually facilitate heart functionality than a normal person, as well as exposing themselves to hormones that do cause dyslipidemia and oxidative stress and things that are at a supra risk level and can cause a more problematic environment for developing heart disease, it's something to be on top of.
Anabolic steroids are well known for the strain they cause on the heart, which we'll explain further a bit later in this video. But before we jump to conclusions, let's continue with the official narrative. Basically, doctors initially suggested a long-term medication plan, but The Rock, famously a no medication guy, was hesitant.
So here you are about to start a drug or a problem that you maybe had or maybe didn't have that they were concerned about that you would have had to take for the rest of your life that you didn't need.
And again, I'll never forget on that Zoom, you went, okay, hold on. Hold on.
Let's
not jump to conclusions. I don't want you getting on that right now. Don't get on the medication. There's a couple of steps here, I think, that we can do that could be invaluable.
So they took a deeper look at his biomarkers by running some imaging and using AI scans. These major advancements in medical science are now giving us a much more detailed, personalized look inside our own bodies. These tools can guide lifestyle adjustments and preventative measures before any long-term medication is even needed, which is basically what these diagnostic services are promoting. And this is where the story gets truly fascinating, because it connects to a massive shift happening in medicine right now. We're moving away from just measuring age by your birthday, your chronological age, and towards measuring your biological age, the actual function of your organs and your overall physiological health. Think about it this way. It doesn't matter if you're 20 years old, if you have the lung capacity of a 70-year-old chain smoker.
Let's get our smoke on. All right.
And conversely, it's entirely possible for a fit 70-year-old to have the cardiovascular system of a healthy 50-year-old. This is the core of what figures like Brian Johnson are advocating for. Even if his methods are extreme, the underlying principle is sound and incredibly exciting.
How old do you think you can live till?
I don't think I'm gonna die.
Ever?
I am serious. I sincerely believe that we are the first generation that will not die.
Anyway, after Functional Health did a comprehensive dive on The Rock, his biomarkers were pretty impressive. His original doctors apparently just didn't look deep enough.
We did a deeper panel of your cardiovascular risk factors,
Yes.
and we looked at things like ApoB, which is now being declared as this sort of the best biomarker for your heart, which again, most doctors don't do.
They don't do that, right?
No. We looked at your, insulin metabolic health, looking at blood sugar and insulin, which nobody really looks at, and your insulin resistance score, which was perfect. You didn't really have any of the risk factors. Your inflammation level was super low.
And it turned out the plaque those doctors thought they saw was actually an anatomical issue. Maybe.
Here's the report from our head cardiologist, who's a very good friend of yours, and who said that he said, looks great. It is just an anatomical thing that's happening back there. It's not built up at all.
Yeah.
His valves look great.
But here's the thing. People are suspicious of almost anything The Rock says beyond, I take steroids. Even when he mentions something as simple as having low cholesterol, people immediately pounce.
He says your HDL was genetically low. It's like, how did you determine that? Like, the guy obviously came to you relatively recently and has been on hormones probably for years. Like, he has low HDL because it's like the number one thing that happens when you take gear that's reflected in biomarkers, with exception of like the crushing of gonadotropins. You will have suppressed HDL.
Derek, like others, think The Rock is being incredibly strategic in this conversation. For example, he's probably very aware of the side effects often linked to PED use, like low HDL, and almost overcompensating by leaning hard into that exact talking point. It's a hyper-aware, almost meta approach to controlling the narrative. And honestly, that might be part of it. He's a branding expert. But regardless of the motive, again, it's shining a massive spotlight on a critical issue: the rise of gut health and metabolic dysfunction. The Rock has described this entire experience as a major turning point. The moment he realized he needed to shift from eating for sheer size to nourishing his body from the inside out.
First, since 2024, I've had digestive issues. I had to undergo treatment and adjust my diet and weight management plan.
It's actually true that he had digestive issues, but he tried to spin it all and blame it on his stomach.
You fix my tummy.
Well beyond the suspicion you may feel hearing it from The Rock's mouth, this is where we move from anecdote to hard science. Gut health is a cornerstone of your entire systemic health. A dysfunctional gut can drive chronic inflammation, which can force anyone, even an elite athlete, to hit a hard ceiling and rethink their entire regimen.
Now keep in mind, usually when I do this, when I'm doing these French toasts, when I'm doing my French toast cheat meals, it's usually honestly about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night.
The typical Western diet, loaded with processed foods and refined carbs, is devastating to healthy gut bacteria. But even a meticulously clean diet like The Rock's, which is excessively high in protein and calories for muscle gains, can lack the fiber and prebiotic diversity essential for a healthy gut microbiome. This balance allows harmful bacteria to thrive, potentially leading to leaky gut, a condition where the intestinal lining becomes permeable, allowing toxins and less digested food particles to leak directly into the bloodstream.
If I like it, well, I'm gonna eat it.
And yes, I recognize that much of what Dr. Gundry says is not supported by the literature. When this occurs, your body sees these invaders as threats and launches a widespread inflammatory response. This systemic inflammation is like adding fuel to the fire of metabolic dysfunction. It's directly linked to insulin resistance, where your cells stop responding properly to insulin, which is a key driver of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. In fact, this inflammatory cascade contributes to many other leading causes of death, just as Dr. Hyman mentioned: heart disease, diabetes, even cancer, and neurological conditions. And who would have thought all these problems circle back to what you eat?
I feel like the connective tissue goes back to, you said, nutrition.
Yeah.
Right, and supplements. And that's one of the things that I was really amazed at.
Nutrition, of course. But the second it pivots to supplements, that's at least a yellow flag to check if they're selling anything. It fuels the suspicion that this is more about product promotion, less about education.
This would have been picked up before if he had ever had preventative screening done. By his account, he's suggesting that he's never had screening done, despite the fact that he is the highest paid actor on the planet, I believe, and one of the most who needs to rely on being like a big jacked, probably on hormones guy to be that most paid actor. And yet in his 50s, he had not even had the screening done.
Derek points out The Rock's decades of huge physical risks make it surprising he hasn't had more thorough scans. But to be fair, he also extends the benefit of the doubt, suggesting that maybe this just shows how little people, even at the top, actually focus on preventative care.
Oftentimes, despite the fact that they have all this money and all these resources, there's no one in their camp that's actually properly advising how to be thorough and diligent, and then it just goes unchecked.
If that's really the case, it speaks volumes about the values within the entertainment industry. And if The Rock's biomarker results were real, and this wasn't for show, then he's exceptionally blessed. At his age, having no plaque would put him in a rare percentage of the population. Rare.
I think that if this is not just a puff piece / sugar-coated segment, and indeed this was what his cardiovascular workup showed, if anything, he's probably being green lit to keep pushing.
And honestly, I think we can throw The Rock at least a little bit of a bone here. He clearly does take his fitness seriously and maintains an intense level of discipline, whether or not he's ever taken boosters. I'm really not trying to get too conspiratorial about what's going on.
It's interesting because he basically says they noticed plaque in his arteries. And a lot of people took that and ran with it and basically said the guy's dying and he's gonna have a heart attack and this is why he's getting off.
But at the same time, I'd be ignoring the elephant in the room if I didn't at least address what's on everyone's mind. One thing that rubs people the wrong way is how The Rock looks, paired with his lifetime insistence that he's a natty. Maybe admitting to a little experimentation when he was young, but beyond that, it's been denial and PR speak.
Essentially has dodged it for his entire career, if not outright kind of said in a roundabout way that he doesn't do anything. That's where people kind of get on because it's okay, bro, sure, this is all just, natural, of course.
My opinion on actors is they're professional liars. I mean, that is their job. They go in a movie and they play a role, a character. They read a script and they are very believable. And so when The Rock tells you something, oh, I only used steroids when I was 19, I'm the hardest worker in the room, he can say a lot of things and it does seem believable because he appears to be a very nice guy.
Greg notes something obvious. Actors sign NDAs for their films. It wouldn't be surprising if part of that included denying any steroid use.
I have never failed a drug test.
I'm not a steroid abuser, and I do not use steroids.
I can't tell you that I haven't, but you'll never be able to prove that I have.
A studio like Disney or Marvel would never want their billion-dollar superhero admitting to PEDs. It completely shatters the illusion, and it isn't exactly the family-friendly message they're selling.
And when asked if I've ever taken steroids, I've always said no.
So, to a lot of people, duh, he's been taking something for those massive shredded movie roles. And what we're seeing now, with this sudden emphasis on longevity, might just be him finally coming off.
Okay, where's a colonoscopy line? Let's do that.
With doctors saying, okay, stallion, settle down. You're not 25 anymore.
The territory of face mass loss is almost representative of a guy who kind of like went natty, is what a lot of people in the fitness community even are kind of perceiving.
You and I who are watching this video, we know better, but you think that the average person in the world doesn't understand that The Rock wouldn't just lose 50 or 60 pounds of muscle in a matter of months if he were to change up his diet?
Greg emphasizes that if you're really au natural, you could change your diet, do just cardio, and still you wouldn't lose that much muscle for years with an S. But with PED use, and then stopping, it's a whole different story.
Your body fights to keep it. And so the first chance it gets when you're on performance-enhancing drugs is it wants to lose that muscle because you have more muscle than your body wants. You're above your homeostasis. But if you did it through natural means, training hard, being the hardest worker in the room, up at 4:30, doing all the things The Rock claims he did, you would keep that muscle for years, even if you stopped working out.
Greg's point hits on a core principle of physiology. Your body loves homeostasis. It wants balance. When you push past your natural limits with hormones, you're building a skyscraper on a foundation meant for a house. The second you pull away that support, the system crashes back towards its genetic set point. That's the hormonal cliff. By contrast, naturally building muscle becomes your new baseline. It fades only gradually if you stop training.
First, it's important to acknowledge that muscle loss is a complex process, an ongoing tug of war between muscle protein synthesis and muscle protein breakdown.
However, this theory gets complicated when we factor in aging. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle, combines two problems: anabolic resistance, your muscles stop responding as well to protein in training, and declining hormones. Testosterone and growth hormone drop with age. So for someone in their 50s, even small lapses in training or nutrition accelerate muscle loss. So while I agree with Greg's principle, there's nuance. Similar muscle loss can occur from a combination of aging, diet, and changed training. Externally, both scenarios can appear identical, which is why I can't diagnose from a picture. Without blood work, it's impossible to say definitively. His transformation could still be explained by dedicated rolled preparation or a health-focused pivot. Remember, he had a full year since his last beefed-up roll. At a healthy rate of 1 to 2 pounds per week, losing 50 pounds is not just feasible, it's textbook sustainable. But here's the catch. That stat usually applies to people losing fat. The physiological reality is that muscle is metabolically expensive tissue. When you're already fatless and then create a big calorie deficit, your body prioritizes survival. It has no choice but to cannibalize muscle for energy. So for someone like The Rock, losing a large amount of weight without losing muscle would require a perfect trifecta of training, nutrition, and hormones. But losing a large amount of weight and a significant amount of muscle, despite still training, which I'm not sure we know he's doing at the same rate, points to one thing: a catastrophic loss of hormonal environment needed to sustain that mass. So the real red flag isn't the rate of his weight loss, it's the composition. That deflated look is a classic clinical sign of a body rapidly returning to its natural genetic set point after the artificial support for that immense size is gone. And yet, the deflated look has a simpler explanation: water weight. In any major calorie deficit, glycogen depletion causes a rapid loss of intramuscular water, making muscles look flat and soft almost overnight. This is almost always temporary. You refill once you eat normally. So the simpler answer is still possible. He's just deep in a deficit for the role, and we're seeing a temporary diet-induced deflation. However, there are some other particular red flags that would indicate steroid cessation. High androgen levels typically increase oil production and body hair growth. So when these hormones suddenly drop, noticeable shifts in skin or hair can occur. The bigger tell, though, is psychological and energetic. Steroids can give a sense of drive.
It's about drive, it's about power. We stay hungry, we devour.
Focus, even aggression in the gym. Coming off then often flips that switch. Lethargy, low libido, fatigue, even depressive symptoms. Training at the same intensity becomes almost impossible. That said, these effects are highly individual. Some people display them openly, others mask them well. And with someone like The Rock, a celebrity, you typically only see him when he wants to be seen. Outward appearances may not tell the whole physiological story. And make no mistake, long-term anabolic steroid use takes a severe toll. We're talking about a disrupted hormonal system that can lead to lifelong testosterone dependence, gut issues, organ stress, and significant cardiovascular strain. The very thing that started the rumors. And this damage only compounds as the body ages. So if he was using, it would make complete sense he need to stop. What bothers people most isn't the potential use, it's the lack of transparency.
What Joe was saying The Rock did, which is steroids, is something The Rock has denied. His father denied, his uncles denied, the whole family's denied. It's one of those things. Wouldn't it be overly big deal? In all fairness, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if you weren't out there telling people about nutrition and telling people about your diet, telling people about your workouts. As soon as you start doing that and trying to influence and motivate and bring people along the journey, but you lie to them about the journey, right? I mean, he's Liver King. You're Liver King all over again. It's the exact same thing.
You put on all those muscles because you train so hard, and then we watch your workout and you're training with bikini girl weights, 15-pound dumbbells for lunges. Are you kidding me? 2 plates on each side on a hack squat? What kind of weights is that? 2 or 3 plates on the leg press. I can do that with my left leg alone for 50 reps. Come on, Rock.
Portraying a chemically enhanced physique as purely the product of discipline and grinding harder sets up unrealistic expectations for the people looking up to him. But to bring this full circle, we have to put it all into perspective. The smaller size might actually be like regular Rock. Let's be clear. He is still incredibly muscular by any objective standard. We've just become conditioned to his hyperinflated Hollywood action hero size as his normal.
Here he is, 32, 33, looking very lean, 35. Like these are, if somebody saw that plus like 18 years or whatever is essentially what you're seeing physically at this event, is like what I'm gathering. Like he looks more like what he actually is supposed to look like pre like heavy Rock juice era. It's not unusual for people who don't know that he actually is supposed to look like that, but for people who know him to be, you know, the absolute behemoth that he often portrays himself to be on the big screen and shows on social media and his workouts and stuff, you can imagine where people are gathering some of the comments that you're seeing. Like this is him, young Rock, who many would still say at the time, like you're jacked. Proportionally so now they would be like, wow, you fucked up and lost everything. But back then, no one knew that he could have been this absolute truck stick and a half. It was, you know, jacked by any normal person's standard.
This new shift forces us to account for movie prep, aging, and moderated lifestyle changes before jumping to conclusions. To me, this looks like an aging actor adapting to keep his career alive. These guys want serious, versatile roles now, and the bulked up look can be incredibly limiting.
He can now pivot in his career. He doesn't need to play the same exact roles. And so what a great opportunity for The Rock to use this as a scapegoat. The Rock became a pebble to avoid being a tombstone.
He wants different roles. He doesn't want to just play the action.
Right. Of course. Yeah. They all want to do that. That's why he wants to get into politics. Batista, that's why he...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's less about being the biggest guy in the room and more about staying in the room, staying relevant, and more importantly, healthy enough to keep working for another decade.
Before I get into this, personally, I think that this is all planned out and clever marketing. I mean, The Rock is getting so much attention, so much publicity. We're all talking about the Smashing Machine, Mark Kerr, and so on, and it's all because The Rock lost all of that weight.
Ultimately, His transformation reflects a mix of health priorities and smart career planning. It's a powerful reminder that even the biggest stars eventually have to choose longevity over pure size. Thanks for joining me in this discussion about the drastic transformation of the actor formerly known as The Rock, now dubbed The Pebble. Let's wrap it up with a roundtable analysis from you, the intern army. What are your thoughts about this epic metamorphosis? Let me know in the comments section. Be sure to join my intern army and click on your notifications to catch my uploads every Monday morning. And if you dig what I do and want to support our mission even more, consider becoming a member of my channel. And don't forget to follow my gym, Human 2.0 Fitness, for free right here on YouTube, where we post content that helps you move better and prevent injury. Or its sister channel, Human at Home, where we show you how to be healthy in the space where you live. And remember to make the right lifestyle choices and to look after your own health. Otherwise, as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris Raynor, not your everyday ortho, where we see one, do one, teach one.